Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh and this is your JIS News for Thursday, February 9. Government will be establishing 2 shelters for victims of domestic violence in the 2017-2018 legislative year. That was announced by Governor General Sir Patrick Allen as he delivered the throne speech during this morning's ceremonial opening of Parliament.
Potential locations have already been identified, 1 rural and 1 urban, and inspection reports have also been completed.
The Governor General says this is among several measures that will be taken to address gender-based violence, which he says is detrimental to economic growth and productivity.
Utilizing the National Strategy Action Plan to Eliminate Gender-Based Violence 2017 through 27 as a platform, the Bureau of Gender Affairs will lead the process of ensuring adequate prevention, protection, and redress for the most vulnerable in the society.
He says this is part of government's overall focus on bringing growth, creating jobs, and securing Jamaica. 13 areas of strategic focus have been identified to bring that goal to fruition, and they feature substantial attention on crime reduction and enforcing the rule of law.
There is a need in Jamaica to rebuild communities that have been divided by crime and lawlessness. We must, as a nation, assert the rule of law and jealously guard its promotion.
Meanwhile, the Governor General also announced a full legislative agenda for 2017-2018. Simone Wolf has more in this report.
In the new legislative year, the Andrew Holness-led administration will be introducing or amending several laws designed to address the most urgent issues that could hinder Jamaica's development. They include legislation to improve the security landscape. Among them, a new Police Service Act that supports the modernization and transformation of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and legislation to establish the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency as an independent national law enforcement agency.
In an effort to further protect the human rights of our people, the Sexual Harassment Bill will be brought to this House. The bill will seek to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace and institutions, including educational, hospitals, correctional centers, and others. The government will also bring the DNA regulations, which is complementary to the DNA Act.
The Terrorism Prevention and Child Care and Protection Acts will also be amended, and Parliament will consider laws to complement government's financial inclusion and growth strategies.
The Microcredit Act will be introduced to encourage increased participation of data providers in the credit reporting system. In that regard, the Credit Reporting Act will be reviewed. The government will take steps to further strengthen depositor protection and investor compensation across financial institutions.
Other critical legislative changes include the promised National Identification and Registration Bill, the Education Jamaica Teaching Council Bill, and a bill to establish the Tourism Workers' Pension Scheme. Simone Wolf reporting for JIS News.
And following this morning's ceremonial opening of Parliament, government tabled its budget for the 2017-2018 financial year. The estimates of expenditure will now be reviewed by the Auditor General before going to the Standing Finance Committee of the House of Representatives. That committee will meet to consider its contents on February 28 and March 2 to 3. The budget debate follows from March 14 to 22. In other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced a zero-tolerance approach to domestic violence, sexual abuse, and grooming of minors. He says the police have been directed to act using existing laws to carry out preventative detention in live and imminent situations of domestic violence. This involves removing an aggressor from the scene of a potential crime or abuse in an effort to de-escalate the situation and prevent the person from harming others. Mr. Holness says aggressors will be required to undergo counseling or educational sessions as a condition of their release, following an assessment by the police. In addition to strengthening the Domestic Violence Act to include stiffer penalties for perpetrators, Mr. Holness says the state will be training 400 police in conflict resolution and domestic violence issues. A similar zero-tolerance approach is being taken towards child pornography.
That means the threshold for discretion for prosecution has been lowered to 0. all crimes of this nature that comes into their knowing, into their knowledge, must be prosecuted.
Prime Minister Holness was speaking at a press conference Wednesday to update the country on plans to arrest an increase in acts of violence against women and children. And finally, the Department of Correctional Services, DCS, has received 700 items of riot gear donated by the United States Embassy. The equipment were handed over at the DCS training suite in Kingston yesterday. They include 100 riot batons, 100 riot baton holders, 100 riot helmets with visors, 50 handcuffs, 100 goggles, 50 metal detectors, 100 riot shields, and 100 raincoats with hoods. State Minister of National Security Colonel Charles Jr. says the items will help bring the DCS in line with international baseline standards for the treatment of inmates.
It will provide an alternative option for handling physical interactions with inmates, which, as I said, will protect the inmate and also protect our staff. And it will allow us to maintain control of the facilities while also observing the basic human rights.
U.S. Ambassador to Jamaica, Louis Moreno, says the donation highlights the strong relationship between the two countries. He says the equipment is provided in conjunction with training sessions on how to handle riots efficiently and humanely.
The training sessions have also included 4 train-the-trainer workshops in institutional management. As part of this training, the Embassy has sent nearly 100 correctional officers to Colorado in the middle of the winter for training, and will send 30 more next month.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.